dreaming of a white Christmas.
Oh, hey, what's up, you guys? How's it going? It's Papa. Now, these last couple weeks, I've been playtesting another deck that I have been really excited to be playing lately, and it's been a while since I played this deck. It's probably been about probably close to 6-7 years now since I last touched these cards. But you can already see in the title of this video that I have been playing Mermail Atlanteans for the last couple weeks. Mermail Atlantean was a deck that I kind of grew up watching from seeing pros play it. At one point I did have the deck. I ended up getting rid of the deck because, well, I just didn't know how card prices worked at the time. But like I've said in my past few videos, I have been testing different decks for the upcoming YCS in Anaheim, which again, I will be at. So if you guys want to come and chat with me, please feel free to do so. But Mermail Atlantean is probably my favorite deck to play right now. I've been playing it for very consistently for the last couple weeks, and I've been putting out really good results with it, so I thought I'd go ahead and showcase you guys the list that I've been playing. Atlantean Mermail has been one of my favorite decks for the, again, like I've said, the past couple years now, and honestly the fact that I get to play it here in 2024 is very solid. The deck did just get a whole lot of new support in the last set, Rage of the Abyss, and I thought what better time to go ahead and try playing this deck again than now. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into the list. But as always, before we do start the deck profile, I want to ask you guys to please like and subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh content, because if you like and subscribe, it lets me know that I am doing something right. So yeah, starting off with the deck, I know a lot of people have opted not to play this card anymore, but I still think this card is very strong with Atlantean Mermail, and that is 3 copies of Deep Sea Minstrel. Essentially, you want to be seeing this card in your opening hand at all times, and every time that you see this card and you pair this with, say, an Atlantean squad, or if you pair this with an Atlantean Dragoons, odds are the game is basically over from there. Now, of course, games 1 and games 2, I opt to side out a pair or 2. Sometimes I even opt to side 3 out, depending on what the matchup is, because when you are going second, you don't need to look at your opponent's hand most of the time. Instead, you are trying to break their board, so this comes out for essentially more board breakers, more hand traps, whatever it may be. But I do like 3 in the main deck, and has been doing very well for me, so I opt for 3. The brand new quarter century rare from Rarity Bonanza, I'd like to give a quick shout out to Overdose Gaming for these, but I do play 3 copies of Nectabis, the Atlantean Prince. This is essentially the bread and butter of the deck. This card does send for cost, and when it does that, you get to add an Atlantean, or you're basically sending an Atlantean for cost, and then you get to add an Atlantean. So basically the play here is you go Nectabis, send Shadow Squad. Shadow Squad gets you gets a summon from your deck, which basically gets you your pike, but I'll go into that later. For the brand new Atlantean, we play 3 copies of Abyss Shrine, the Atlantean Spirit. This card is very, very solid. Essentially what this card does is that you contribute a water monster from your field or hand to essentially either add or summon a level 7 fish monster from your deck to the field or to your hand. I mean, it could be fish, sea serpent, or aqua, whatever it is, but essentially this is what you use to make your Koalacant, and then it also acts as a form of interruption as well in the graveyard during your opponent's turn. So the card's very strong. I do play 3 of it because I do want to see multiple copies, because this is kind of how you keep playing if your Nectabis does get stopped in some way, shape, or form, but the card is very strong at 3. The next best card that we got in the new Rage of the Abyss is that Mermail Shadow Squad. Card is very, very strong, and then also fun thing too is that these cards also act as the opposite name. So Atlantean Spirit also counts as a Mermail card, and then Shadow Squad also counts as a Atlantean card, for those that didn't know. Shadow Squad basically makes all your monsters on the field level 7 by pitching a card, and then the other effect too is that when it's used for a water monsters effect is that you can special summon a Mermail monster from your deck. So the card is very, very strong. The card that actually makes this deck worthwhile, I'm sorry I don't have ultis yet, but we are playing 3 copies of Atlantean Dragoons. If I could play 6 copies of this card, I probably would, but essentially you can only play 3, so we are playing 3. Basically, this card gets you any sea serpent from your deck, and then it is also the best card that you contribute for costs for any of your water monster effects, so you definitely want to be maximizing 3 of this. And then I play 1 copy of Heavy Infantry. I have seen lists play 2 of this, but I opt to play 1 just for the main part that you can recycle this off a Toad. Since you're usually ending on double Toad anyway, you can always bounce this card back from the graveyard, and then you basically use this during your opponent's turn to pitch off of the Abyss Shrine to essentially give yourself another form of interruption. But we only play 1. Same with Mermail Abyss Gun. You only really need 1 of it. This card is kind of mediocre, I'm not gonna lie. It's not the best card in your deck, but it's still one that I do like to play, and if I do end up not cutting this, or if I do end up wanting to cut this, then I will let you guys know. And what makes my deck very fun is I play 3 copies of Mermail Abyss Pike. This card is very needed at 3 with this build since I am playing Koalacanth. If you are not playing Koalacanth, then I completely understand. You can get away with 2, maybe even 1 of this card, but I also like the usage that it is a level 4 water, so it makes your Bahamut Shark a lot more live, so I opted to play 3 copies for that reason. And then for the big fish, of course, we are playing 3 copies of Teus. Again, I don't have my ultis yet, so do bear with me for the rarities here. Teus is a reveal in hand to be able to pitch a water to summon itself, and then it lets you add a Mermail monster from your deck to your hand. And pairing with the Teus, I do play the 1 copy of Abyss Megalo because this card searches you the equip spell, and then it also just helps you push for game going second. So the card's very strong, and it's 2400, so it's nothing to sneeze at. It is just a very solid card all around. And then we played the 1 water cow, the Mooling Glacia. Basically what this card does is that when it is summoned, when you have exactly 5 waters in the graveyard, it lets you hand rip 2 cards out of your opponent's hand, so it's just another way of interacting with your opponent, basically making it to where they have less cards at the start of their turn. And basically the more cards that you rip with this deck, then the odds are that you are winning the game, so you definitely want to be playing this. Mooling Glacia also has the drawback to where if it is sent to the field, from the field to the graveyard, then you lose your battle phase, but if you use this as an Exudes material and you detach it off of that, then it won't matter, so you definitely want to be playing the cow. And then the last big fish we play is the 1 copy of Koalacanth. This card is very, very solid. Essentially, this is how you use your Abyss Shrine for, and then you use this to summon out your other 2 Abyss Pikes, and you basically go your Toad plays from there. So you definitely want to be playing this. That's going to do it for all of the main engine. It is a lot of main engine. I mean, I believe it's like, what, 20 cards, 20 plus cards maybe, but you do need all these cards, and the more that you draw, the more chance you have of breaking an opponent's board. And even if you don't break the opponent's board, then you're setting up an even stronger turn 1 as well. All these cards are very needed at their correct ratios. And then I do play some non-engine. This is what I've been toying around with, but I do play 3 copies of Perulia. I know this card has been seeing a big rise in price lately, but the card is very needed. And the other cool thing too is that it is a level 4 aqua, and it is also treated as a water monster because of, well, the water attribute. So basically you're using this as mainly a form of hand trap, but you can also bring it back with the coral anemone, and then this also makes it to where you can add back off a toad or whatever, but card has many usages. You definitely want to be playing it. And then I am on 3 copies of Ash Blossom. It's just the most generic hand trap that you can be playing right now, so I just figured why not maximize. And then we're on 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. This is arguably probably the worst hand trap in the deck, mainly because if you draw this off of your Abyss Shrine, then it's essentially dead most of the time, because odds are you're gonna be having a full board anyway, so essentially this card probably won't be being used, but it is still a very nice card to have going second. You definitely be playing that if you want to. If not, then you can side it out for something else, but right now I'm just sticking with the 3 in the main. And then for the last hand trap, I'm sorry budget players, but we are on 3 copies of Dominus Impulse as well. I do think Dominus Impulse is the most impactful card this format. I have won a lot more games drawing Impulse than I have drawn Fuwalos or Perulia, whatever it is. Impulse is just such a strong card, so you definitely want to be playing it in any shape that you can. But that's going to do it for the hand trap portion of the main deck. And then just for some fun ofs, we played the 1 copy of Called by the Grave, 1 copy of 1 for 1, the beautiful Secret Rare from Rarity Collection, so very nice. And then we played the 1 copy of Abyss Sting, mainly because this card is just so good. It brings back Dragoons, it brings back Pike, it brings back basically whatever you want, so you definitely want to be playing it in some way, shape, or form. I was playing Virtue Stream, but I ended up cutting it. I just don't think the card was very needed in the deck, because you're already hand ripping for 2 to 3 cards, and then you're essentially setting up a board that your opponent can't break anyway. So I opted to just rely on more consistency and more hand traps, whatever it may be. But I do still like the Sting. I just like to have a target for the this Megalo, so I just opted to play this. But that's going to do it for the main deck. I believe it is a 41 card main. I'm still testing the waters, pun intended. I really want to try and get this deck down to 40, but again, I'm still just testing right now, because again, this is probably going to be one of the heavy considerations for the upcoming YCS, but again, just need a little bit more practice. For the extra deck, we are on the 1 copy of number 4 Stealth Kraken. This card is kind of situational. I mean, I never really go into it at all. It's just kind of there to be there. but you can replace this for anything else that you would like. And then I play 2 copies of Totally Awesome, the other brand new quarter century super rare from Rarity Bonanza, very clean, to pair with our 2 copies of Bahamut Shark. You definitely want to be playing 2 if you're playing 2-toed, because this is just the main target for Bahamut Shark. And then we play 1 copy of Abyss Dweller, and then we also play the 1 copy of Besidra. Card is very strong. This card basically makes your Trishula. It is also just a form of interruption, and if you need cards, then it also helps you make Ravenous Croco Dragon, which gets you even more cards. So card has many usages, so you definitely want to be playing it. And then we play the 1 copy of Abyss Gaios. I have seen Liz play 2 and 2, but I honestly like the 1 and 1. I think you don't need anything more. And then for the links, we play 1 copy of Marine Says Coral Anemone. This card is very good for revival, and then it helps you go into your King Neptibus as well. And then we play 1 copy of Abyss Keeper. This is for in case you draw your Deep Sea Koalacanth. This basically just lets you summon it from your hand, and it also acts as a form of interruption as well. And then we play the 1 copy of Abyss Osha. This card is very good. And then we play the 1 Mermail King Neptibus, the beautiful Europrint QCR. And then we play Zealantis. Card's very strong because if you use this and you are locked into water monsters, when you use the effect to summon everything back, then your board comes back, but your opponent's doesn't, because it is you special summoning to your opponent. It's you that's special summoning to your opponent's side of the field, so you basically get to clear their board for free and then just attack for game. Card's very strong. And then we play 1 copy of Trish, and we play 1 copy of Croco Dragon to round off the extra deck. And then I'm just going to show you guys the side deck real quick. Like I've said in the past of my few profiles, that I do believe that side decks are like assholes. Everyone has them. So my side deck that I have been going for has been 1 copy of Dimension Shifter, 1 copy of Droll and Lockbird. You guys may know where this is going just at the start of this alone. And then I do play 3 copies of Fuwalos just for going second. The card is very strong, don't get me wrong, but I also think the card does have its weaknesses to where it can get hit by Ash Blossoms. And then we play 3 copies of Crossout Designator. Basically, the only things this deck really loses to is Droll Shifter and sometimes Nibiru, but if you're resolving Minstrel, then you can just get rid of the Nibiru, so it doesn't really matter too much. We then play 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. Card is very strong on the format right now, being able to hit Deception, being able to hit Hollowed As with Mina, being able to hit like Masquerena, basically just really good against everything. It's also good for hitting Runic Fountain because Hugin can't protect it. And then we play 2 copies of Forbidden Droplet. This is probably going to be taken out. I don't really see these cards when they're at 2, so this might become just more nib targets, or not nib targets, crossout targets for if anything. Like essentially this could be changed out for a copy of Nibiru, just so that way I'm not losing to it, but it is what it is for now. And then we play 2 copies of Dimensional Barrier to round off the side deck, just because it's good for everything else. Yeah guys, that's gonna go ahead and do it for today's video. I know I haven't really been uploading these last few weeks, but again, like I said in I believe my last video, that the holidays are really a busy time of the year for me, but I do have other matches recorded. I have some locals duels, I have other ideas for content planned. I just need to find some time to just sit down and edit them so I can get them posted for you. But other than that guys, let me know what you thought of the deck. Let me know what you're going to be playing for the upcoming format post crossover breakers, and until next time guys, this has been Papa, and I will catch you all in my next video.